Hey there, Juanjovi, and awesome to see a new rec take from you. In this video, I'm going to focus on trying to give you some pointers for vibrato and also tone. Stephane uses, I would say, 3 kinds of vibratos at least here. He does a little bit of like a circle vibrato there in the beginning, where your vibrato follows like a circular or oval motion. And he does a little bit of that kind of narrow finger-based vibrato that has almost like a mosquito sound. And then he uses like standard vibrato, which is sort of based around the movement that comes from your whole arm and not so much your fingers. In your playing, you mostly use the finger vibrato, basically kind of narrow finger movement that comes from your fingers, obviously, and not so much like a wide arm movement. And that is fine because Stephane uses a bit of that. But you have to be very careful with this vibrato, because if you throw it on immediately like this, or it's going to sound a bit Kirk Hammett style, and it's going to sound very narrow, a bit beginnerish, if you get my point. And it's going to sound a little bit annoying, pretty much. So the way to do this is to really throw that in subtly. So first you have to give the listener a taste of the actual note you're playing. And then you can try doing a little bit of that. Or, you know. Personally, I try to stay away from that, so I'm not really good at demonstrating it. But you can listen more to Stephane's playing to get that down. And I would advise you, since you're practicing this, to see if you can further analyze Stephane's playing in this lesson and imitate the kind of vibrato he uses for each note, so that you can get more into circular kind of vibrato. You can also check out Steve Weiss playing for that. And also the standard vibrato, where you sort of lock your left hand so that you don't move your fingers a whole lot, but rather have the whole, arm generate the movement, which is really my favorite type of vibrato. And it also has the benefit that since you're using muscles from the whole arm, you don't get as tired, because our finger muscles are much weaker. So if you rely on those all the time, you're going to run out of energy, and that's going to show in your playing. So that's for vibrato. Keep up the work there, and be sure to analyze what Stephane is doing here and see if you can replicate that. Now we also have the tone. Stephane has kind of pushed breakup tone so that he doesn't have to play really hard in order for the notes to break up into distortion, right? So if you play softly, you play loud, you get a bit of distortion there. Now, it seems that you have to play harder to reach that breakup point. So I would advise you to maybe have like a booster in your signal chain, or maybe just turn up the distortion a little bit on your amp or amp emulation, whatever you're using. The point is that if you have to play much harder than Stephane to get the breakup, you're not really going to be able to play the lesson the same way he does. This is, of course, on a subtle level, but I think that you have to hit the strings really hard and maybe play several notes before you get the distortion. So in order to successfully try to imitate his right hand technique, it's a good idea to try to start off with a similar kind of tone where the breakup reaches with somewhat the same picking strength. And also you might want to have like a bit of a brighter breakup. So if you can maybe add like a treble booster in the chain, or maybe just turn up the treble or the presence knob, or maybe try a different like patch or amp simulation, depending on what you're using. These are no biggies, but they certainly help when you're trying to get the lesson down and trying to learn from Stephane's playing. Now, finally, maybe just a few words about reverb here. I think that you could benefit from like a short reverb. If I turn off my reverb, it sounds like this. Sounds kind of dry. And then I turn on the reverb. It's kind of subtle. You can't really hear that it's there until you turn it off. Now I have no reverb. With reverb. Without reverb. Now let me turn it up a little bit in the mix so you can hear it more prominently. There you can hear a bit more of the room. Without. With. If you're having problems hearing this, try listening on with headphones. That's a really good way to start listening for reverb and stuff like that. So I maybe the advice here is a bit scattered all over the place, but I think these are things that could benefit your playing. And some of these are going to be like low-hanging fruit. So if you maybe spend some time just trying to find a good tone and maybe apply the reverb tip, it's going to allow you to almost immediately sound much, much better, I think. And of course, the vibrato stuff, that's going to require a bit more work, but it's definitely super important to bring your level of playing up a notch. So yeah, really cool to see a new rec take from you. I hope to see a new one soon, and I'm looking forward to following your progress, Juan. Have a good one.